Every great innovation in technology, whether for better or for worse, starts somewhere remarkably simple. The very first motion picture to be seen in theaters was of a moving train, and the very first website was nothing more than text on a screen. These were just two out of many breakthroughs in technology that blew away the people of their time, to the point where you and I can sit down and still talk about them today. It didn't take much complexity for them to change the world in their respective fields, because there was nothing else like it before. And of course, the same applies to online scams. During a time where people didn't truly realize what the internet was capable of, it didn't exactly take a lot of effort for malicious developers to get the high turnover of gullible people that they desired. May 5th, 2000 was the turning point for computer viruses, when something as simple as commands in a notepad file could cause billions of dollars in devastating destruction and put previous viruses to shame. These stories almost act as folklore that we can pass down from generation to generation. But that's not always the case. Some significant events in history are lost to time, and for the turning point in social media scams, that was April 30th, 2010, when thousands of users across YouTube received a very strange private message in their inbox. The message was very cordial, praising the user for their high-quality videos. You're incredibly underrated. You deserve more recognition, and you can get that by simply going to earnsubscribers.com. Wow, was it really that easy? Could I become the next Fred or Ray William Johnson? Or maybe, just maybe, was it all too good to be true? People saw all the smoke and mirrors rather quickly, but that did not stop the messages from continuing to get around and luring in the uninformed. The only option left was to combat it and spread the word about the website's illegitimacy, and now dozens of creators were making videos telling their community to beware. All of this was a byproduct of a scam that was so basic in its functionality that people of today could see it coming from a mile away. But earnsubscribers.com was a product of its time, and for that, it was able to catch thousands of people in its trap. But how? What did this simple yet ingenious website do to earn its 15 minutes of fame on one of the biggest platforms in the world? This scam really was quite brilliant. But do you know what else is brilliant? Well, brilliant. The most exciting kind of teaching is self-teaching, and Brilliant lets you learn all kinds of STEM-related subjects through fun hands-on lessons. Especially during remote learning, traditional lecture videos can be boring. Interactive learning is 6 times more effective, and with Brilliant, you can practice real-world problem-solving. Rather than just memorizing a bunch of information, you can be creative and learn to think outside the box by following each solution step by step, allowing you to understand the reasoning behind each concept. Since we're always talking about computers, what better way to learn more about them than through my favorite learning path, Computer Science Foundations? What's really great about Brilliant is that they actually make learning fun. It really breaks it down to the simplest level so that anyone can understand something as complex as how logic gates in a computer work. Right now, you can join the millions of other people who are learning online through Brilliant. By visiting brilliant.org/nationsquid, you can get started on interactive lessons completely free, and the first 200 people will get 20% off their annual membership. Now, I had a lot of fun learning with Brilliant, so I want to see what you guys are learning too. I want to do something fun, so I will be featuring one of you in a future video. If you want to be featured, try out Brilliant for free with my link, complete a lesson, and then screenshot it, and then tell me a bit about what you learned or enjoyed. I will randomly pick a submission to win. So, enrich your knowledge and understanding of the world through Brilliant. Now, there is very little information left about earnsubscribers.com that you can find online, but when looking back at what it did, it can be argued that this website set the standard for how future social media exploits would be set up. They would, at the time, take note of earnsubscribers' successes and failures, despite its legacy essentially dropping off the face of the earth. Now, what makes this website very interesting, at least only to me, is that this was a big online scam that I actually remember happening in real time. I was one of the people who received this message and even almost fell victim to it along with many other people. EarnSubscribers.com's success was a direct result of how YouTube operated at the time. Naturally, a website of such magnitude like YouTube would grow more sophisticated and foolproof as the years passed by. But in 2010, things were different. YouTube as a community was much more decentralized, and as a result, you were left with an internet equivalent to the Wild West. The same rules applied, but they arguably weren't enforced nearly as much, or were enforced differently than how they are today. The concept of a YouTube influencer was still quite new, but much like today, everyone wanted to be one. What better rags to riches story than starting off with just a video camera in your bedroom and then ending up on the red carpet just a couple months later? It was one out of many scenarios tailored to fit the millennial American dream, all thanks to the internet. But most of these people fail to recognize all the moving parts that go into being a YouTuber, all the hard work and business transactions that go on behind the curtain, how one public relations mishap can turn your entire audience against you, and most importantly, how the only way to increasing your subscriber count and establishing a fan base is by doing nothing more than just creating good content that people want to watch. You have the birth of Sub for Sub. Subscribing to a channel not because you like their videos, but because you expect them to subscribe to you back, a mutually agreed upon transaction to help a member out. Hey, I saw your video response to Kev Jumba. Hilarious. Sub for Sub. Yes, you could put the ignorance of early YouTube users to blame for causing Sub for Sub to be so rampant, but you also have to take into account the culture of YouTube at the time. There was a much bigger emphasis on subscriber metrics, not so much on the YouTube algorithm itself, but with how people perceived the platform. I mean, this was a time where hitting 200,000 subscribers was national news.
A fictional 6-year-old internet phenom is redefining the word hyper. He's a fast-talking tyke with a temper, and he's dominating YouTube.
Boasts more than 275,000 subscribers, surpassing Disney superstars Miley Cyrus and the Jonas Brothers.
It was no wonder why so many people were in on his thing. They wanted to be famous, and they wanted it fast. But there was a big problem here. Not the obvious one that, get famous quick schemes never work, but something much more subtle. A problem that could be solved. Sub for Sub was very tedious. You had to subscribe to each channel one by one, and you had to message them beforehand, and even then there was only a chance that they would honor your request and actually subscribe back. But what if there was a website that did it all for you? EarnSubscribers.com claimed that it was exactly that, and the zeitgeist of fledgling social media and becoming famous online allowed word to get around faster than it should have, and the reason is not surprising. The website wasn't real. It was a scam. A scam so simple, yet ingenious and effective. So how did it work? It would all start with you getting a private message in your YouTube inbox. These messages obviously did not all come from the same account, as these accounts would quickly be reported and get suspended, so there was always a new one around the corner sending out these messages. As to whether some of these were hacked accounts or if they were all sock puppet accounts created exclusively for the site is debated, but we will get more into that in a minute. Now, a big giveaway to the scam was that they didn't exactly tailor the messages to the user. There were reports of these messages complimenting people's videos, even though the people in question had, well, no videos. But regardless, the message would almost always read as shown, saying that your videos are fantastic and that you deserve more recognition, and the way to do that is by going to EarnSubscribers.com. The website advertised itself as having 4 simple steps. 1. Type in your YouTube username. 2. Subscribe to the list of people that are shown on the website. 3. Fill out a series of surveys. And then 4. Get your subscribers. Now you're probably shaking your head right now, wondering how anyone could have fallen for something so ridiculous and clearly fake. But you need to put yourself in the shoes of someone who was using the internet back in 2010. Now obviously there were lots of people even at the time who immediately saw its illegitimacy and did not fall for it. These were often the creators dedicated to their craft, who took YouTube seriously and used it as a form of artistic expression. They were already building something special. Why ruin it with an obvious scam? And even if it was legit, why take all that integrity away? But for the people who wanted overnight success and maybe watched too many episodes of iCarly, this sounded too good to be true, and they wanted all in. I mean, the website seemed basic enough on its own. There was really nothing else to compare it to, so to see if it was really legit, well, there was only one way to find out. So the website claimed it would give you subscribers as long as you gave them your username, subscribe to a list of channels, and fill out some surveys. But what did it actually do? Each step on the site has its own webpage. Page 1 for step 1, page 2 for step 2, and so on. The first page, you type in your YouTube username. Then you go to the next page, where you are given a list of 10 channels you must subscribe to. And then on the next page, you are taken to 5 hyperlinks asking you to fill out surveys. One survey gives you 10 subscribers, the next 20, and the fifth one 1,000. And then on the next page, well, there wasn't a next page. That was it. That was the scam. Much like sub for sub, now you just have to hope that the other party actually honors your request. But there is a very interesting detail about this website that can be quickly picked up through the Wayback Machine that at face value would tell a completely different story for the average user. On page 2, the list of users changes. So what does this mean? Well, what likely is happening here is that these are all the users who typed in their channel names on the first page. The website does mention that users are placed on a waiting list before subscribers start to appear. So this would be the website continuously updating this list of new people, and then their subscriber count throughout the days would start to grow, and then those subscribers would start getting their own subscribers, and so on, turning into a sub-for-sub Ponzi scheme. If you didn't want to wait, you could pay to get priority listing from a linked website called YouTubeLotto.com. Now I know what you're thinking, hey, if people on here were actually getting subscribers, then where's the scam part? Who cares how they're obtained? Wasn't that the objective to begin with? Well, remember those surveys? That private message that you got didn't say anything about them. But once you actually use the website, the devil is in the details. The only way you could actually get the subscribers was by doing the surveys. And you couldn't just skip to the 1,000 subscriber survey. They all had to be done chronologically. The user would not only be tricked into subscribing to a bunch of random channels that they don't watch, but would be left with no choice but to then be taken to external survey sites where they provide personal information and are even obligated to download a bunch of unknown suspicious programs. Yes, you got subscribers, but at the expense of your wasted time, all your information, and computer safety. Some people even claimed that their phone bills went up after they gave their phone number to these survey sites, or even had money taken from them after they were signed up to online subscription services without their consent. Now all this brings me back to the question that you were probably wondering earlier. Where did all these accounts come from? Well, there's no denying that many of these are obvious burner accounts made solely to advertise the website. But I personally think it goes deeper than that. Many people reported that this website would steal people's YouTube information and even hack their accounts. Now, due to the passage of time, there is no longer any evidence to confirm or deny this. But it is possible that one of these survey sites that had all the downloads may have contained a keylogger, allowing them to obtain passwords, and therefore turn these legitimate YouTube channels into zombie recruiters for the website, essentially becoming the love letter worm of YouTube. Is this really all worth it, rather than just making great content? Well, a lot of people answered no, and earnsubscribers.com only continued to grow, eventually peaking in November of 2010. But as people saw its true form, the craze died down. The website would undergo quite a few transformations, including a view count service. But the damage was done, and the website was now only a shadow of its former self, before dissolving entirely into the distant past. YouTube began to see the true danger behind these sub-for-sub exchanges, and in October of 2010, updated their terms of service and introduced a subscription limit. Users could no longer be subscribed to more than 2,000 channels. Many people scoffed at this change. Not only was it not gonna fight sub-for-sub spam, but there was no way anyone could subscribe to that many people. Well, it wouldn't take long for another website to enter the picture and prove them all wrong, but that's a subject for another video. Despite its story being long forgotten, the lessons learned from earnsubscribers.com live on. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to fool people. The reason so many users fell for it at that time was because they didn't know any better. But when they learned, the scam developers did as well. And when you think about it that way, earnsubscribers.com really was the ultimate sub for sub, but with knowledge. Scammers saw a website like earnsubscribers.com as a great way to make money. Things within the model just had to be changed, maybe less surveys or odd grammar. If it was going to be a scam, it shouldn't look like one. It now had to be convincing. Earnsubscribers.com could now live as a legend for what not to do when trying to deceive people and what not to do when you don't want to be deceived. And as the social network grows older, wiser, and stronger, more of those life lessons and warning signs will only continue to manifest themselves. But at least now we know that it all starts somewhere. Now, if only there was a way to resurrect earnsubscribers.com and put it to the test. Well, turns out I can do something that Cher only wishes. I can turn back time. And now I will go ahead and share it with all of you. Just like how I emphasized multiple times throughout this video, much like the millionth visitor pop-ups, scam websites like these were also very simple, something which may seem anticlimactic now, but if you were an everyday internet user in 2010, you would be quite annoyed. As always, before we begin, artificially increasing your subscriber count is not only against YouTube TOS, it is a totally ineffective way to growing a YouTube channel, so please, don't try this at home. With that said, let's begin. It is April 30th, 2010, and I'm gonna go ahead and open YouTube, check out my messages. Looks like I have a new one here. Hi, I just saw the video you uploaded and thought it was amazing. Try this link, earnsubscribers.com, hope to see more of your video on YouTube, Mike. I mean, I am very flattered that he likes my channel. I could give it a boost, so let's give this website a try. Now here is the webpage, very basic. Let's go ahead and enter my username. Now here are the channels that I need to subscribe to. There's 10 of them, so I'm just gonna save you the trouble and get through all of this. Finally, page 3, time to get my subscribers. What? Surveys? They didn't mention this in the message. Well, I am desperate, so I guess I can save some time. I'm just gonna do 10 subscribers from now. I'll save the rest for tomorrow. As you can see, this is a basic trap for getting people to install malware or even type in personal information such as YouTube logins, the perfect way to attract naive people. Not to mention that these survey pages would change almost every time, making it quite difficult to track all of them down. People could just unsub from all the listed channels on page 2, but depending on how deep they went, the damage was already done. Their time was wasted, personal information was obtained, and their machines were compromised. They weren't famous, now they have become nothing more than a statistic to one of YouTube's earliest scams. Don't forget to check out Brilliant and the link below for a chance to get a shout out in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and click the notification bell so that you never miss a future video.